Just give me 5 minutes. I'll be starting the webinar. I'm just checking on the Facebook Live. Yes. So, a very good evening to all of you. We are welcome to yet another Zoom call by Jungle Bells. We've organized regularly, we organize these webinars. Initially, when we started with these webinars, we started in the COVID times, and the sole purpose of these webinars was, to bring the forests and wildlife to homes at that point of time, and all of us were at home. Though right now all of us are busy and back to our routines, but we're still continuing with the webinars. We totally believe that there are so many people who are working in the field of conservation, wildlife. They're doing exceptionally outstanding work, you know, and why not use these webinars to document their work and circulate it ahead. So today's webinar will also be uploaded on the YouTube, and will be circulating it in the communities, various communities. Right now, we are live on Facebook. So a little bit about Jungle Bells, and Jungle Bells is an exclusive women's wildlife group with activities related to excursions, related to wildlife, conservation, and awareness. Before we begin, I would request those who have joined on Zoom to put on your microphones on mute and keep your camera switched off. We will take up the questions at the end. Those on Facebook can type in their questions to Vidya, post the, uh, keep on typing the questions. I will take it from the Facebook. So without further ado, let's start off with the webinar. And so we have a very interesting speaker, and I happened to interact with Vidya in one of the MP seminars. We had a couple of years back, and I was very impressed with her work. I read up later on, but never got an opportunity to connect till now with her. And as we take through, you will quite understand, what all she's done, and she's right now doing also. So let us, I'll go through her bio in a bit. Vidya Venkatesh is a professional with a strong corporate background and a passion for wildlife conservation. She shifted from strategy and leadership roles in the corporate sector to focus on community centric conservation. As director of Last Wilderness Foundation, Vidya collaborates with indigenous communities in central India, like the Pardhi and Baiga, to create sustainable models that safeguard the environment, build livelihoods, and reduce human wildlife conflict. She has led initiatives across tiger reserves, national parks, and sanctuaries, including the Mumbai Kars for the Sanjay Gandhi National Park project addressing human leopard conflict. Her conservation approach emphasizes empathy and interconnectedness by empowering local communities and encouraging participatory practices to benefit people and ecosystems. So this is a very, very impressive bio. But in short, I would like to tell you she's doing some exceptional work, as I can understand, in layman language. All right, it is very difficult. I would not say, but challenging for maybe a woman. Slightly more challenging to give everything to wildlife and nature. So I would really have huge respect for Vidya. It's just not. I'm not flattering, but I can understand because I go to forests and I understand how it is difficult, to navigate, stay, or work with these kind of communities. So, welcome, Vidya. A very warm welcome to you. Thank you for taking the time out, and in spite of being a holiday, you could just come and be there for our webinar. So, let us directly start on with the questions without this thing. So, what inspired your journey into wildlife and conservation? So, a brief background, how you came into this.
Sure. Thanks, Imangi. Firstly, thanks for this platform because it's very helpful to share some of our experiences through this platform, through Jungle Bell. So thank you for inviting me for this talk. Okay, so to answer your first question, it has been a very surprising journey. It's not the usual that bachpan se I liked wildlife. I did not know anything about wildlife as a child. While I was finishing college, I happened to attend one of the WWF volunteer training program, VTP as it was called, camps in Sanjay Gandhi National Park, Bombay. It was a 3 day residential camp. And that kind of changed my entire life. It kind of pulled me through the world, to the world of nature and wildlife. And it gave me a very close exposure to what it means to be connected with nature. I think that life-changing experience I continued through my corporate career of a decade plus that I was there. And through that career, as I progressed, I traveled to many of the parks in India, many small remote places of India. I'm also a trekker, so I used to trek a lot as well. So while I was trekking, I would also look at birds and observe wildlife. So that kind of drew me closer to nature and wildlife. But yeah, at a point in my career, in my corporate career, I had to make a choice whether I wanted to grow further and stick with the corporate world forever or whether I wanted to make a shift. So I decided to take the plunge in about 2010. I took the plunge. So I decided to quit corporate and I moved into, without knowing anything about the career in this field of wildlife. I
Yeah.
decided to quit and I said, okay, let me see what I can do about it. If not, I'll go back. That was my plan. But it's just been 15 years here now and I don't know. I'm still here, right?
Yeah, I mean that is a kind of, even I come from I come from Vodafone and Airtel backgrounds, and
Oh, wow.
frankly telling you, I would take, I mean, implement a few learnings from there to here, but
Yeah.
otherwise I would not, trade off anything to work whatever I'm doing right now, little thing, for going back to that kind of corporate background, because it is something that, it's
Yeah. But a
really,
lot of learnings, like I think there's a lot of learnings that I bring back from the corporate world to this field.
yeah,
And there is a lot of need to do that as well, I think. That
correct, correct.
needs to be connected.
Absolutely. Thank you. So when you hear the word, when we were discussing the different topics that we could speak, so we picked this one, like inclusive conservation. So if you can elaborate a little bit about the definition of it and what all comes under it. So,
So yeah, I wanted to kind of bring this topic and I want to bring it in discussions in multiple forums, really, Himangi, because I think as when we speak of conservation, I think for people it's just animals. For people, it's also just wildlife and forest, right? The first picture that comes to everybody's mind is wildlife and the forest picture. But somewhere we also miss the point that people are also part of the entire landscape. And when we say people, it's not necessarily that it's just the local people. There are multiple stakeholders that are involved in conservation, and it's not just the story of trying to save one tiger. It's not the story of trying to save one elephant, but it's a story of trying to conserve an entire landscape. And in the landscape, we know that it's not just the animals, not just the people, but it's also multiple departments, multiple stakeholders. Like for example, people where we work or the landscape where we work, we of course work with local communities, and local communities is one of the biggest stakeholders in conservation, I feel, especially in a place like India. We cannot talk about conservation without talking about people.
mm,
So people, local people, communities are one of the biggest stakeholders. But at the same time, I also feel the teacher who's teaching the students in that village, right? He is an important, he has an important role to play. The police who has been posted in that particular area, they have an
right.
important role to play. The local collector, the education department which is there. So there are a whole lot of people that we work with and we need to work with. The hospital which is there. When there are snake
Right.
bites, we need to involve the hospital people and we work with them proactively to make sure that the hospital is equipped. So there are multiple small stakeholders that play a major role in conservation. And if we
Correct.
are not involving them, then we are missing out on a large part. Of course, wildlife and forest is one of the biggest part, and that will strive. But without the role of the rest of the departments or people, local communities, all of them, I think it is incomplete to say that we are doing
Yeah.
conservation entirely. So it's
Correct.
one part of
Correct.
conservation that we all end up looking at it in that way. So I feel
Right.
Inclusive conservation is all about making sure that there is, every farmer is involved, because his method of farming is also going to be ending up in conservation, right? If he's
Right.
able to do the right method of use, the right method of farming, then that will help us in conservation. So every little thing in that landscape is going to be useful for conservation, and it is
Correct.
important for conservation. So that's where I
Correct.
feel that if we do not involve all of them, then we're missing out on a large component. And
Right.
including all of them is where I feel inclusive conservation is very important. Again, I would also want to add the urbanites like us, all of us who are sitting and on laptops and trying to work from the cities. We're also part of it because we can contribute in many, many ways. So it's not
Right.
necessary that we, definitely need to be in that vicinity in the local area, but there are many ways that we can all be conservationists. So I think inclusive conservation is all about just getting everybody together and not just leaving out anybody from the entire scope from the land.
Right. Right. Amazing. Yes. So, yes, we've understood what inclusive conservation means. So, can you share one moment from the field where inclusion made a difference? I mean, just an
Yeah.
example of how it's made a difference to the entire thing.
Sure. So, one of the examples that I would like to quote is the Baiga community. If you've heard of the Baiga
Yes.
community in
Yes.
Kanha, I mean, they're mostly in Madhya Pradesh, of course, but we worked with this community in Kanha, and we worked with them because the Kanha Forest Department, the Tiger Reserve, invited us to come and so there was an issue where the women from the Baiga community had gone into the Tiger Reserve,
Okay.
and they wanted to collect mushrooms. So they are
Yeah.
traditionally they used to collecting mushrooms. They have a lot of products that they're very close to the forest, right? They're very
Right.
dependent on
Right.
the forest. Their lives are dependent on the forest. So for them,
Correct.
it's very usual for them to go and pluck things. For them, there are no
Yeah.
boundaries of core and buffer. There are no boundaries of tiger reserves and national park. For them, it's
Right.
their
Right.
backyard. So
Correct.
because they are right on the periphery of the tiger reserve, they would just go into their backyard, which happens to be the core now, which earlier
Correct.
was
Yeah.
not. Now it's the core, so we call it core.
Yes.
So they happened to go there and collect mushrooms, and obviously there were some restrictions, So the department had to kind of ask them to refrain, and it became a little bit of an issue at that time because of the
Hmm.
rights, tribal rights, and all of that. So the forest department wanted us to come and see if we could work with the communities, because the department
Hmm.
does not want to really stop them from getting what they want, but they also have
Right.
to follow guidelines to follow, and there are safety measures also.
Hmm.
So thankfully, in Madhya Pradesh, we were able to do this, that we could involve communities. So when they invited us, we wanted to figure out what can the Baigas or what can we do or work with the Baigas, how do we partner with the Baigas to
Right.
understand, saying that we can't tell them do not go, but can we look at
Hmm.
an alternative? Can we divert their energies? Can we divert their needs or the sources from where they have their needs? Can we
Right.
divert that into something else? So we realized that when we spoke to them, we interacted with them, and they're very timid community, or very, very
Hmm.
closed community. They're not very easy to open up. So it took us almost a year to break ice with them.
Oh, I see.
But it did happen. I mean, it's ultimately it's human beings that we're connecting with. So we managed to do
Correct.
it, and we realized that for them it is more of दिन भर हम लोग क्या करें,
Oh,
it's just
okay.
घूमने चले गए थे हम लोग, and बारिश का मौसम था, and I hope everybody understands Hindi, but I'm just going to,
Yes.
yeah, so they were like बारिश का मौसम आ गया तो हम मशरूम वो पिहरी लेने चले गए, they call it पिहरी. So लेने चले गए थे. So that is one of the very simplest statements that they had to make, because they had no
Right.
malpractice intention, or they had no other intention, but this is घर में बैठ के क्या करेंगे. So we
Hmm.
realized they had a lot of time in hand. They didn't have anything. Once they plant the rice paddy fields, then they are absolutely
Right.
free for a few months. तो उस टाइम
Correct.
पे वो क्या करेंगे? So then we slowly realized that उनकी community में what are the traditional practices that they follow. We
Hmm.
looked at that, we studied that, and we understood that they have a very beautiful skill set, which is the jewelry making process. They have a traditional jewelry making for themselves that they make. So that
Right.
we kind of picked up, we worked with them a lot, and we brought out a product called as Baiga jewelry. If you Google Baiga jewelry,
Yes,
that is
I
the
did
product.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that is the product
Lovely.
which is coming from Kanha straight to you. Whoever buys the Baiga jewelry is coming from Kanha. So that product is now, of course, established. It's been about 7 years, and now the Baigas are doing it on their own. It took us like 5 years to establish the entire thing. But the good part is now they don't enter the core areas of the forest, right? After that,
Okay.
there's been no incident of the Baigas entering the forest. So it
Right.
takes time when we work with communities. We need a lot of patience. We need a lot of manpower, resources to connect with
Right.
them, to have empathy, to understand what they need. From their
Right.
angle, we need to think. We can't think from our angle, from a bookish knowledge perspective, but we need to
Mm.
be on ground to understand. But I think that was one of the biggest differences that we could make. We have multiple examples, but since you asked me one, I'm giving you one example.
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
try
Yeah.
and share
Correct.
the others as
Correct.
we go
Correct.
ahead.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah, but this was a
That's
beautiful example, and the baigas are still there, the jewelry is still there.
right.
It's one of the longest processes that we had, but it was beautiful.
Wow. This is something excellent. I'll come back to a few questions later on this as we cover the rest of them. And so, what do you think conservation efforts sometimes leaves out of? I mean, why do you think conservation efforts sometimes leave out local or marginalized communities? So that was a question. Sorry.
So I would say local or marginalized communities. I want to kind of reword it because not necessarily that locals, sometimes locals are also much more well-to-do than us.
Yeah.
Okay, because of the
Correct.
land holding that they have,
Yes.
because the assets that they hold, just that the income, that is the daily income that they earn, may or may not be, as much as we see. And then they have a lifestyle that they live, they like to live, or they are used to living the lifestyle that they are. So we
Yeah.
just kind of look upon them saying marginalized, not always a marginalized. Some communities are definitely
Mm.
marginalized also. But to answer your question, I think if you're talking about specifically the government system,
Mm.
uh, it is very difficult to interact with communities, especially with a diverse set of communities.
Yeah.
So, like for example, we work in multiple areas in Madhya Pradesh itself.
Yeah.
We work from Kanha, Bandhavgarh, Panna, Kuno, Gandhi Sagar, all of these areas. And in each of the locations, the diversity of the community is different. And based on that, interacting or breaking ice with them and cracking that solution with them takes a while.
Yeah.
So, for example, in Kanha, like I told you, it was a Baiga. In
Yeah.
Bandhavgarh, it's a mixed community. You have Baigas, you
Correct.
have Gonds, you have Yadavs, you have multiple communities.
Yeah.
In Kuno, it is the Mogias, which is
Okay.
there. Okay, the
Okay.
Mogia community. And then in Panna, you have many other communities. But one of the main communities that we work with also is the Pardhi community.
Pardis. Yeah.
Pardhi, yeah.
Correct.
So depending on the community, the traits of the community, the characteristics of the community, on how are they dependent on the forest, right?
Okay.
And how do we cater to that need of theirs? And how
Okay.
do we, supplement that need of theirs? Because
Right.
sometimes it is the food, sometimes it is the money, sometimes it is
Mm.
just the house that they're used to living inside the forest. So it is various things. So understanding those needs and trying to work with them on those needs is
Right.
a long drawn process. And in
Yeah.
the government system, it's very difficult for even one single officer to be in the same position for that long.
Yes.
Right? एक साल
Correct.
में कोई
Correct.
project नहीं होता हमारा. So it's like it
Right.
takes at least any behavioral change, human behavioral change that we work with,
Yeah.
takes at least about 5 to 10 years minimum.
Wow.
None of
Okay.
them happen in a year or two, definitely not.
Yeah.
So any of these behavioral changes, because it's human beings, behavioral changes takes
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Understanding ice breaking, trust building itself takes about a year or two with all of them.
Correct.
So I think in the government system, it's very difficult to build that in. Plus, they don't have enough resources or trained resources who can
Correct.
really follow up closely with the same community, make sure that it is happening. Like for example,
Yeah.
in Panna, right, the Pardis were promising when they came out of the forest. I mean, we could talk elaborately, but in short, when the tiger reintroduction program happened,
Mm.
the Pardis were relocated from the forest to outside area, and they were
Right.
promised to be given education, livelihood, all of those things. Slowly, over a period of time, that whole rigor of that officer and the subsequent officers who came in, obviously, rigor and the focus changed because then the tigers were established in the next 5, 7 years.
Right.
The
Right.
focus changed and the communities were left behind because the communities are no longer the focus. Now, the focus is about how to make it from 50 to 100 and so on. Now we
Yeah.
have 100 plus
Mm.
tigers there. But
Mm.
we started from zero when the Pardis were relocated. So that whole journey from zero to 100 also had the Pardis moving from 2009 to 2015. They also moved along, but their
Absolutely.
lifestyle has not changed much.
Yeah.
But Panna has got, re-established
Yeah.
as a tiger reserve. So,
Correct.
so that journey is very long. So I think having patience, having the resources, having the expertise is all of
Mm.
the, challenges that they face. And I don't blame them,
Right.
which is why we need people who can externally supplement and complement the activities that are required to be done on ground.
Right, right. So there's a good point here which you mentioned that, a human behavior is the most difficult. Might be an animal would, if you interact and train, it would have been a faster change because we are ourselves are a lot more complicated. Not complicated, but I feel we'll take a time to, just
Right.
do any kind of changes to our one own self. So I also wanted to ask here that do you what is the most challenging thing, I mean, to break the ice? Is it the language barrier that they're not understanding, or they have that resentment towards anyone coming and speaking to them on trying to pull them out of this, or making them understand? I just what could be the
So
more
definitely not
challenging?
language.
Yeah.
At
Okay.
least, I mean, I'm in Central India and I don't see language as a barrier. Most of them speak
Okay.
Hindi and we manage to speak Hindi.
Okay.
So language
Okay.
is not a barrier, has not been a barrier for us at least.
Yeah.
I think one of the most, and this is a very interesting question, so I'm just thinking as we
Yeah.
speak, but I think one of the most interesting barriers could have been that they see us as outsiders
Yeah.
and
Correct.
we need to build ourselves and blend ourselves into the whole existing system of the community. That is
Yeah.
a challenge as to how do we blend smoothly without trying to be the whole city urbanite who comes there and just is there for a few
Correct.
hours and talks to them saying ye mat karo wo mat karo aisa nahi karna hai waisa, so giving gyan to them and then going back. So that
Yeah.
is a challenge for us to kind of mellow that down and be one amongst them. So I think that is one of the biggest
That's
challenges
right.
that I could have probably come across. Yeah, and with each community, again, it differs, right? So with some
Is
communities, the
different.
ice breaking
Yeah.
is easy.
Correct.
I know,
Correct.
yeah, I mean, we get to know them very easily. They will laugh and smile and all that, but they may not change their
Yeah.
behavior. They may not
Behavior.
want to
Yeah.
listen to
Correct.
us. They may be very
Yeah.
friendly with us, बिठाएंगे, चाय पिलाएंगे, खाना खिलाएंगे, but they may not change anything at all.
Change anything. Yeah.
So
Correct. Correct. Yeah.
those are little nuances that we eventually need to build trust. Once they start trusting us, then it works
Yeah.
very differently for different landscapes.
Correct. That's great. So next, how can including women, tribal communities, and youth, according to you, strengthen the conservation work?
I think it's very, very interesting saying that, the women, the youth, the tribal communities, they all
Yeah.
have skills that are very different from, many of us.
Correct.
Um, Beggars, for example, Gonds, for example, Beggars are very good with
Yeah.
medicinal plant knowledge. Okay.
Yeah.
Gonds are very good with farming practices.
Hmm.
Okay. Parthis are very good with the knowledge of the forest and animal movements, actually,
Hmm. Hmm.
tracking animal tracking systems. So I think also helps us to kind of make sure that the community strength remains through generations.
Right.
Because the women actually hold up the practices and the traditions that are followed in the community,
Right.
and
Right.
it's easier to work with women to
Hmm.
hold on to practices and or
Hmm.
to kind of change whatever, either to change or to hold on to some of those practices for a longer term,
Hmm.
to bring it down to generations, different generations. Similarly, with the
Right.
youth, the energy levels are very high. And if we don't
Yeah.
channelize that energy levels, it can go in a very different way.
Different way.
So
Yeah.
tapping that energy, bringing them closer to the positive side of conservation,
Right.
bringing them on our side of conservation or the positive side of conservation is very important at the right time, right age, because the moment they get an opportunity and in case they slip into the other side, then it
Yeah.
gets very difficult to again change the behavior. So
Correct.
instead of doing that, easier to tap them at the right time and bring them to right side of the conservation. So in that
Right.
sense, it's very important. I feel that youth is also, in that sense.
Right.
For the tribal community, like I said, most of the tribal communities have different skills. Like for Mahua collection, the villagers, when you talk to the village women, especially, they have
Hmm.
solutions that they come up with. कि दीदी हम ऐसे
Yeah.
कर सकते हैं, दीदी हम साड़ी लगा देंगे, दीदी हम यहाँ पर हम
Hmm.
साड़ी बिछा देंगे. So instead of lighting a fire under the mahua tree, if they want to collect, they'll say हम साड़ी बिछा देंगे यहाँ पर. So they
Right.
also come up with ideas, and also because they don't have a voice sometimes in the community or in the family as women, when we ask them, the solutions really come out and they're able to talk to us. But this is only after the trust building happens.
Correct. Yeah.
So So,
Yeah.
but then it does come out and they come up with really brilliant solutions most of the times.
Wow. Amazing. We also believe that whenever we take, I mean, we primarily take women, we believe in taking urban women to the forests and nature. That's how we started off,
Right.
before we could get into these kind of awareness. So we also saw that point of time, that if women of the house does something, generally the legacy follows, as children do, or things start falling into,
Absolutely.
because their kind of sensitization towards any kind of thing is
Yeah.
more faster, because maybe the, or what we call EQ and IQ, and everything goes up. So I
Yeah.
feel that is one big thing, and the youth also strengthening energy is something that it can be used, if it's used for the right thing, then it works wonders there.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. Next question. So, what are some common myths people have about who can be a conservationist? Good question. I mean, people just say I'm a conservationist. I'm into conservation. So
Sorry, Amangi, we lost you for a minute. Can you just repeat the
oh,
question?
okay. Yeah. So I wanted to ask you, what are some common myths people have about who can be a conservationist? So anyone gets up and says, "I work into conservation and this." So what can be few of the myths? I'm sure the photographers is something that you don't want want to speak about, but yeah, I mean, what according to you are
So,
the myths?
yeah, so okay, so when I say conservation, I want to clarify that conservation is not a title or a job title. It is
Yeah.
a practice, right? That is point number one.
Yeah.
And the second point is conservation does not require necessarily to be a forest officer or a biologist or a scientist, or for that matter, with khaki clothes or with, you know, lenses and
Absolutely. Yeah.
binoculars. And a farmer not using pesticide, chemical pesticide, is a
Yeah.
conservationist.
Correct.
Okay. A Pardhi child or a Pardhi youth who's teaching his or her child not to put up snares in
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
forest
Yeah. Yeah.
is a conservationist,
Correct.
right? So I feel anybody who's able to practice an act of preserving or conserving nature and wildlife,
Nature. Yeah. Correct.
right? That person is a conservationist. So it
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily, it could be the teacher of the village. Like I said, if the teacher is able to teach the
Right.
children,
Right.
how to conserve trees or how to observe birds,
Correct.
that teacher is a conservationist.
Right.
So
Right.
anybody, absolutely anybody, even the sweeper who is sweeping outside in the forest rest house, make
Yeah.
sure a caterpillar is picked up and kept aside, on a tree
Yeah.
that he would have seen, is a conservationist.
Correct.
So I think anyone and everybody can be a conservationist. We just need the right attitude and the practice that we do. So it's
Right.
just about the practice that we can work with.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well said. Well said. What role do everyday citizens, people like us, play in inclusive conservation?
So, like Himang, we were talking about different people that can be involved.
Right.
Uh, there are challenges in cities, and I'm sure Bombay, Pune also has challenges of leopards, and we've come across, a lot of these things.
Mhm.
And again, going back to the statement of inclusive conservation,
Mhm.
just for a minute, I also want to address the media has been playing a very important role. Okay,
Right.
media also is a conservationist if they portray the news in the right way. Then
Right
they are
way. Yeah. That's what
conservationists,
I was.
right? We've
Correct.
worked a lot with the media very closely, and they've done wonderful job in Bombay. At least I can vouch for it.
Okay.
So people in the cities, we don't have to necessarily work with large cats or large animals only for being a conservationist. Even doing bird watching is good enough. Even being aware as to which bird sits where, eats
Right.
what kind
Right.
of habitat is required is a good enough thing. But at the same time, in urban areas, I would also, kind of put a disclaimer saying that feeding animals is definitely not conservation.
Not
Not
conservation.
conservation. Let
I
me
know.
underline that statement for all practical purposes. But in cities, many of us can really make a choice as to what do you wear, what
Hmm.
do you eat, what do you drink,
Correct.
right? That also trickles down to the forest. Our act of what we eat, what we wear, what we buy in our everyday lives makes a
Absolutely.
huge difference to the forests. So
Right.
just being aware, saying where does your what oil are you buying? What clothes are you buying? Where is it
That,
coming from? How much of carbon footprint are we leaving behind when we are doing certain activities? What transportation can we take? Though we feel it's a very cliched topic and we feel that these are all things that we keep discussing all the time, but I think it
right,
does boil down to the fact that we just need to be conscious and aware about the actions that we do in our day-to-day lives.
right.
Saying no to plastic. Many of us have adopted that already now, and I see I'm very happy to see that people carry their cloth bags. But the
Yeah,
plastic does not get, and especially in forest areas where we visit, there is no waste management mechanism. We cities are
correct.
blessed with a solid waste management mechanism. Solid waste management is not even, something that forest areas
Yeah,
know about and talk
which is,
about. For them, they don't even know what it is.
yeah,
So in villages, most of the villages that we go to, the Lay's packet or the chips packets and the biscuit packets are just lying around. And
yeah.
I feel it's unfortunately the act of people like urbanites who introduce these things into the villages, and subsequently we
Absolutely.
don't introduce them in the entire form. I mean, for example, I know somebody who had a very good heart and they wanted to help a village in Kanha. And they said,
Mm,
oh, we will be distributing sanitary napkins there. We are doing a very good thing. We want to help women, which is a great thing. So they said, oh, we are distributing sanitary napkins. And they kept telling me, and I said, no, it's not a great idea because it needs to be done holistically. They
yeah,
said, no, no, our team is going there and we will do this. It's a very short term goal. We want to go with our group and do this. They were tourists again. They want to go and do something good. And the fact of the matter is they don't have disposal mechanisms. we
yeah,
ended
yeah,
up we ended up putting more kachra into that landscape,
correct.
and the villagers don't know how to dispose it, so
Yeah,
they're just lying all over the place, right? They don't have a waste disposal mechanism out there. So if we
right.
don't look at it in the entirety, then it's
Hmm.
very harmful, or something that we do as a good thought or good deed could be very
It
harmful
might
for
not
that
go good.
landscape.
Yeah, correct,
So we just
correct.
need to be aware, conscious of what we are
Yeah,
doing to to nature when we are
right.
trying to do a good deed. Also, back home, what we do for ourselves, like our home,
Hmm.
what we do. Can we use the sofa for a little longer period instead of disposing it immediately? Can we use the cupboard for a longer period of time instead of disposing it? Or a laptop, can we use it for a longer period? Phones. Can we use our
Right.
phones and not keep changing it every 2 years?
Yeah,
Right? Those are things that we can really do so that we don't pollute the environment from an urban perspective. So I think there are a lot many things that we could do. Being aware of that and where it matters and where the whole trickle effect happens is very
yeah,
important. And being aware of that is
correct.
very important.
Oh, oh. So I'll picking up from what you just said right now, a couple of things here. When we visit schools, urban schools here, and we tell them what you can do sitting here, because all of us can't work on the field or actually go and this. So one is responsible tourism, what we always call that. When you visit wildlife and nature, what can you do being a responsible person? Not throw litter, not speak loudly, maintain that decorum of the this thing. So one of them is that. Another thing what you said is about media, which they are portraying, or if they get the facts. So actually we are working towards, in Pune and Nagpur, we're going to work towards a workshop for the media people, wherein they highlight what is what can be done better, or what are the facts, rather than portraying something else, so that people do not get
Yeah.
the wrong
Yeah, so
aspect
in
of it. So
situations like snake bites, or in situations like when a leopard
yeah,
enters a school or a
correct,
residential area,
correct,
what do you do? So instead of
right,
making it a sansani tez khabar, it could
right,
be that what do you do if a leopard enters your area,
right,
or if
right,
if
right.
you're in the vicinity of national park or a RML colony or any
Yeah,
of these forested areas, then what do you do? So the media can actually play a role instead of creating fear in people's mind.
fear, yeah, well said,
Like
well
for
said,
snake
correct,
bite,
correct.
where do you go? Which hospitals have antivenom? Which hospitals should you approach? What can you do? Do not do patti nahi banna hai.
Yeah,
Maybe just do's and don'ts that can be mentioned by the media. It can be really a very good medium to spread awareness, because all of us talking
right.
as NGOs is one thing, but media putting it in print on paper is read by masses.
Very crucial.
So
Yeah,
I think
correct.
that's a great way of creating awareness also. So if they can put
Creating.
one good thought or a action in the paper,
Yeah,
I think lakhs of people can actually get influenced by it.
yeah. Because as you said, leopard, we have Zunnar, and we have
Yeah,
a lot of issues on peripheries right now, where it's become a havoc, and it's been shown. I mean, by media, it somehow just tends to go wrong way. So if this can be streamlined, and then those people can be made aware of how
yeah,
they live with the
correct.
leopard, in a
Yeah.
harmonious way, because he has adapted himself to us, because after encroachment. So it's our now responsibility or duty
Yeah,
to
we have
make
leopards in
ourselves.
Bombay leopards in Bombay who keep time saying last call center ka banda gaadi kab aata hai, and after that the leopards start moving. So they
Yeah,
have
I
actually got
know.
adapted to.
Very, very smart. Yes. So let's go to the next question. Can you share a success story where inclusive conservation worked well? Any story that comes top of your mind?
Yeah. So in fact, recently, right now, I'm in Panna. So in the
Yeah.
morning, I went to the field, and one of the great success stories that I could see today itself was, last 2 years ago, we started a fodder land as a pilot in one of the villages. So
Okay.
fodder land for cattle to graze. Okay, now where does this come from? Is the cattle goes into the forest for grazing. I mean,
Right.
India has one of the largest number of cattle, right?
Right.
And MP
Right.
also has I think third highest or whatever in India. So the number of cattle that go into the forest for grazing is huge. That is one of the challenges for the forest department also as a threat for wildlife. One, it is possible for it to potentially spread diseases. Two, the
Right.
grazing pressure on the forest increases. And three,
Right.
of course, when the cattle is killed, then the farmer or the owner, the villager, is at a
Mm.
loss, and he wants to get compensated. Ideally, the rule says the cattle going into the forest cannot get compensated. But
Right.
eventually they bring it out and then they want to claim saying that, the
Yeah.
tiger came out and killed my cattle. So a lot of
Mm.
those things happen. So instead, the solution is ideally not to send the cattle for grazing into the
Yeah.
forest.
Mm.
Now, for that, the alternative is having a fodder land in the village.
Right.
Earlier
Mm.
days, there used to be a common cattle grazing land in every village. Charai bolte the
Mm.
usko. So there used to be a
Mm.
grazing land in every village. Slowly, slowly that practice has gone off. So we wanted to introduce that practice back. So we started one pilot 2 years ago where a grazing land was created with a lot of help from the villagers. They planted, they made sure it is
Right.
kept, cattle doesn't go in. We fenced it all up. Today, after 2 years, I'm seeing that same village. There are three villages around that fodder land that we had created. Three villages, all of them now, at least 10 houses in each village have started their own fodder land in their own house, in their
Oh,
own
wow.
backyard, and their cattle don't go into the forest, and each of them had like 40, 50 cattle
Oh,
put together. So that
okay.
is a great success, I think. Saying involving them as part of conservation was a huge task, because the forest department also had this challenge saying उनको मत भेजो फाइन लगाते थे उनको, उनके नाम पे रोक
Yeah.
लगाते थे उनको, वो सारा होता था, but that was not working. So this kind
Yeah.
of is working because we gave them solutions saying that if the cattle stays inside your house, vaccination is easier. So we got the
Yeah.
vaccination department, the animal husbandry department to come and do vaccination. Right, we had to kind of do a convergence model where we got the vaccination, the cattle animal husbandry department. We made sure that there is some kind of livelihood that they can generate from the gobar, from the cow dung that they have over there, from the cow urine that they can collect, because it's their right in the house.
Right.
Unless it
Right.
goes into the forest, it's not going to be available. So how do we do that? The fodder land के लिए हम लोग, what are the grasses that we can give them? So we kind of are hand holding them now, and we can see the same thing multiplying in different houses, and they've done it on their own. So it's just a
Yeah.
organic solution that is coming out now. They're able to see the pilot, they're able to see it's working. And now today they were asking, say, हमको machines चाहिए to cut the grass, because women are now cutting it, वो हाथ से काट रहे हैं. So they are saying कि
Okay.
हमको machines चाहिए, which is a good thing, which means they want to sustain
Yeah.
it. They want to keep it running for a longer time. So they're like machines होते तो हम लोग और जल्दी घास काट लेते थे उसको, because they need to cut it into small, very small bits
Yeah.
and mix it with bhusa and give it to the cattle.
Right.
So that, but yeah, I think that is one of the great solutions that I saw today, just today morning, and it was wonderful because these are innovative solutions that only the villagers can come up with. कि
Right.
कैटल अगर अंदर नहीं जाना है तो फॉडर अगर यहीं मिल जाता, हमको हरी घास नहीं मिलती है गांव में, इसलिए हमको जंगल भेजना पड़ता है. हरी
Mm.
घास यहाँ मिल जाए तो then we don't have to send them. So that was a simple thing. So it's working that way. So these are
Yeah.
solutions that work very well if they are involved. Absolutely.
Correct, correct. This is so excellent that you just today there was a success
Yeah.
story for you.
Yeah.
So maybe your experiences in this every day, and that gives a
Yeah.
motivation that things are working, or
Things are working.
things are changing, or
Yes.
people are also, you are able to make that change
Yeah. Yeah.
somewhere if
Yeah.
you see the result. That's amazing. Have you faced resistance? I mean, we've spoken on this resistance from people when trying to include diverse voices in conservation. How did you handle it? So, how do you manage that resentment or resilience from people? What is your convincing pitch?
There is no one formula, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think it works by example. It works by leading by example. We did have a lot of resistance, and we continue having every now and then. We do continue having resistance. Um, to give you an example, the community Pardhi that we work with,
Right.
they are infamous for hunting
Yeah.
tigers erstwhile,
Hmm.
right? And they do
Hmm.
have a tag, erstwhile tag, which is known as a criminal tribe tag,
Right.
which now is not there. Now they're into denotified tribes, but they are still infamous for that. And locally, they are
Yeah.
very, very infamous.
Yeah.
Now, if we kind of get those students to get admissions in schools, we've had an instance where the school principal was all okay to get the Pardhi student admitted into the school, but the
Hmm.
rest of the community parents decided saying that अगर पारधी बच्चे वो
Oh.
स्कूल में गए तो हमारे बच्चे बाहर आ जाएंगे. And then we had to have one of the local leaders to put pressure on the school saying that कुछ भी करके पारधी बच्चा स्कूल से नहीं निकलेगा क्योंकि बाकी बच्चे दूसरे
Hmm.
स्कूल जा सकते हैं but this kid will not get out of
This.
school. Do what?
Yeah.
So it kind of we had to work with the local leader over there. In another instance, similarly with this Pardhi community, we know that sometimes in the government system also there are some old practices that follow where anything happens locally, kuch chori ho gaya, to the first thing or first people who
The
get caught are
blame
the
goes
Pardhi.
on. Yeah.
Blame goes to them,
Yeah.
and they are put behind bars. And then subsequently, of course, things we have to slowly work out. Sometimes there are students who are I mean, they are being educated,
Yeah.
so they are in college, they get caught in this entire vicinity, in this entire process, and then we had to work with different officials to kind of get them out of the jail. But in those cases we had to really work in a very different way. Within the community also we had to work outside of the community with police, we had to work with the state level police. And then we also had to, now slowly what happens is we proactively, we've also learned, so proactively if there is a Pardi student studying outside of their house or a hometown into some other, like we have kids studying in Bhopal, from Panna they've gone to Bhopal, from Panna they are
Yeah.
studying in Katni. तो हम लोग वहाँ की लोकल पुलिस को पहले से लेटर दे के रखते हैं कि यहाँ पर
Okay.
पारदी बच्चा पढ़ रहा है, सो इट्स लाइक एन इन्फॉर्मेशन विद देयर कॉलेज और स्कूल आईडी कार्ड saying that ये बच्चा पढ़ रहा है यहाँ पर, if you have anything this is the phone number, you can call them, call us, but do not pick them up from the college, because there was an instance where one of the college boys who was in the classroom से उसको सिविल में लेके गए थे पुलिस. And that was
Yeah.
a very big impact on his mind, because
Right.
he absolutely felt कि दीदी हमको कोई बदलने नहीं देता है, हम बदलना चाहेंगे तो भी कोई नहीं बदलने देता हमको,
Hmm.
समाज नहीं चाहती हमको बदलने.
Yeah.
So it's
Hmm.
not that, of course, we all know it's not that. People are
Hmm.
doing their duty, people are trying to find out things, but the officials also don't know as to these kids have changed, the Parthi community is changing. So we are now publishing more positive news, saying कोई बच्चा 10th भी पास हुआ तो we are trying to make sure कि पेपर में एक बार तो उसका नाम आए.
Paper. Yeah.
12वीं में पास हुआ तो भी
Correct.
हम लोग बोलते हैं पारधी बच्चा 12वीं पास हुआ. It is important because if you don't put that news in the local newspapers, then local people don't get to know that there is a change happening. So
Hmm.
proactively, we
Okay.
also need to not only work with the community, with the Parthi community, but working with the rest of the community to change their mindset is also very
Absolutely.
important, because that resistance is very strong. Government
Correct.
officials में भी बहुत resistance है. There are different things that we have been told. In fact,
Absolutely. Yeah.
हमको तो बहुत जन बोलते हैं कि you guys are working with the wrong people. You are in threat. Your life is in danger. You should not be working with them. But yeah, it's been 15 years, and we've been very happy to work with them.
Happy. Yeah.
So resistance होता है, but we've managed to find a, and I'm sure we all will find a way out. If there is a will, there is a way is very true in this case. We've always managed to find a way out. We just need to have patience, because sometimes very frustrating. It's a thankless job, so it's very
I can
frustrating.
imagine. My next question was going to be that, how sometimes you also must be thinking, कि अरे क्या करें? A deadlock kind of situation when you don't know, or you just feel like giving up. Because in
Yeah,
every field or any job or any work, there comes a
yeah,
point where you feel, is it, am I doing right, or should I
yeah.
just give it up, or things are not working? So what motivates you? I mean, it's one on one. I put my question one inside. So what keeps you motivated? I know wildlife is there and you want to work and all of us want to
Yeah,
work, but what is
yeah.
that one thing going, that you feel that
Actually,
shit,
my
let me
my
go.
motive probably has shifted over the last few years. Initially, it was wildlife. In the
Yeah.
last maybe 3 or 4 years, I don't even go for safaris, even while I'm in the national park. So people
Okay.
come with me and they're like, "तू सफारी नहीं करेगी तो मैं क्यों आऊँ तेरे साथ?" I'm like, I
Right.
may not do it. You can go for a safari. I don't go on a safari. I'm
Correct.
no longer inclined to go on a safari or excited to see. I mean, I would love to see a tiger, no doubt, or any animal. But
Right.
I'm no longer, that's probably not the motivation anymore for me. I think the motivation now slowly is to make sure that that one child that I'm trying to educate वो graduate हो जाए किसी भी
Ah.
तरीके से. So I keep calling, I keep talking to their parents saying उसको पीछे हट, बाहर मत बुलाओ, उसको शादी मत करवाओ, उसका तुड़वाओ मत उसकी पढ़ाई को. सो आई एम जस्ट
Mm.
दैट इज नाउ द मोटिवेशन फॉर मी कि उस एक बच्चे को पढ़ाई कंप्लीट करने दो, ये एक बच्चे
Correct.
को नौकरी मिलने दो. या दिस कम्युनिटी, Bega community, end of the day they should not go into the forest. So for me,
Correct.
those are little milestones that I have probably created for myself, saying okay, in the next 2 years I need to do this, in the next 3 years I
Okay.
want to do this. So those milestones I keep looking at and I'm like, अच्छा अभी बाकी है, काम बाकी है. I can't step back right now. I still
You
need to
can't
keep
give up.
going. I
Yeah.
can't give
Correct.
up.
Correct.
I still need to keep
Awesome.
going.
Yeah. Seriously. So, I think we just covered this also. What small steps can schools, corporations, or even housing societies, no, you can, I think, still elaborate, housing societies take to support inclusive conservation? So, what
So,
according to you are those steps?
yeah, locally we spoke about city people or urbanites,
Right.
what can we do locally that we spoke about. But I also feel, like you mentioned, saying city में बैठ के हम लोग कैसे मदद, we can't all go to the
Yeah.
field.
Yeah.
But there is a lot of possibility that sitting in the cities also you can help people out here. Okay.
Correct.
One is, while you said responsible tourism, you also can add saying when tourists go to any place, make sure you visit one village at least.
Yeah.
Visit the
That's a
local
good point.
people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Locals. Yeah.
Local,
Mm.
and do one local activity.
Yeah.
राइट. सो आइदर विजिट अ विलेज, कहीं खाना मिलता है लोकल, अगर खाना कोई बना के देता है, कोई घर में कोई होम स्टे है तो ट्राई यूजिंग होम स्टे इंस्टेड ऑफ स्टेइंग इन अ होटल और रिजॉर्ट.
Right.
Eat some local food if possible, at least one meal you can have, if not all the meals, as much as possible. Purchase local products. जैसे हम लोग
Yeah.
ताडोबा गए थे तो वहां पर कैथे की चटनी, यहाँ पर भी कैथे की चटनी मिलती है, वुड एप्पल की
Correct.
चटनी. And that is something
Yeah.
which is very local, we don't get in other places, right? So बेल के जूस जो है, so make sure we purchase some local stuff so we help the local economy also. Any handmade products that are there, it will help. In so टी-शर्ट एंड टोपी खरीदने से बेहतर है कि हम लोग कुछ ऐसी चीजें खरीदें जो लोकल इकोनॉमी में डायरेक्टली हम लोग फंड कर पाए. So
Mm.
that could be one other thing. Also, I was saying that we have friends who have joined hands with conservation by also teaching the kids online. Now technology has helped a lot. सबके पास मोबाइल फोन्स है, तो कुछ
Okay.
बच्चे हमारे स्पोकन इंग्लिश सीख रहे हैं. सम फ्रेंड, वन फ्रेंड इन ऑस्ट्रेलिया has been doing spoken
Oh,
English teaching one on one
okay.
to one of the kids in Kuno. There
Okay.
are 3 Pardi kids who's also being taught by another friend who's in the US. So
Oh,
she takes a class from the US for spoken English. कोई बच्चा मैथ्स में वीक है. There is a girl, one of the first Pardi girls who's doing B farm.
oh, okay.
उसको शी फाइंड्स इट वेरी डिफिकल्ट टू फाइंड एनी ट्यूशंस वहां पर. तो यदि
Okay.
कोई ट्यूशंस कर सकता है, सो देर आर मेनी एवेन्यूज, ऑल ऑफ अस पुट टुगेदर कैन रियली. कुछ नहीं तो इवन इफ वी आर टॉकिंग टू देम, देयर इज वन फ्रेंड फ्रॉम बैंगलोर हु हैज बीन हेल्पिंग अस just to talk about good stories from life. Women, as a girl, as a woman, she speaks about her life story. She just speaks about values and ethics in life, because some of
Right.
these community members do not understand what values and good practices in life can be, right?
Correct.
Some of the
Yeah.
communities I'm talking about. So there
Mm.
are many things that we sitting in at home also can kind of impart,
Okay.
based on our own knowledge, based on our own experiences that we have. There are things that people can contribute towards, actively also for rural areas. तो
Right.
आना चाहे तो बहुत अच्छा, if they can come here and teach, brilliant, because
Yeah.
there is a dearth of teachers absolutely in
Yes.
many of these rural areas. So if somebody can come for a month, 15 days and stay and teach, great. बट वो नहीं कर सकते तो ऑनलाइन में भी बहुत ऑप्शंस अवेलेबल है. आजकल बच्चे ऑनलाइन भी कर लेते हैं. Especially
That's
8th and above kids, we kind of do a one-on-one mapping with the volunteer.
wow. Okay.
And they kind of take sessions with them. Anybody, I'm sure other organizations also will be able to do that. So
Yeah.
not necessarily with us, but कोई
Yeah.
भी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के साथ जो लोगों के साथ काम कर रही है, जो लोकल कम्युनिटी के साथ
Mm-hmm.
काम कर रही है, it's also possible to contribute in that sense.
Yeah, but this is a good point, Vidya, because when we travel, we take women or we go to these schools in Pune and vice versa. So they keep on asking this question that
Hmm.
if we want to, help out in any way, because in there's some skill that they obviously can give. So like you said,
Absolutely.
online is an option.
Yeah.
So maybe later on you can tell me that how,
Sure.
they can get connected with you
Yeah,
rather
yeah,
than
yeah.
us, because we would not be able to put two dots together
Totally.
directly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
so
We can
maybe
connect you
they
with the
can.
community, with the person. Yeah.
Correct, correct. So I'll ask them to
Yeah.
get in touch with your organization if they can help in
Sure,
any
sure,
which
sure.
way. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, even,
So
I mean, something came to my mind. Even there was a group of tourists who wanted to come and paint a school. There were
yeah,
some foreign tourists
exactly.
who wanted to come and, so those kind of things also happen. Saying वो एक दिन extra रखेंगे पूरे tour में कि हम एक दिन श्रमदान करेंगे और one day we will just go
Correct.
and paint one of the local schools and we can tell you. I mean, we can help you
Correct.
to arrange that. So those
Yeah.
kind of, yeah.
And I just want to ask you that if they have to, like you said, when they come for safaris, they can maybe visit the nearby village, one of the. So does your organization do this? Can take them,
Yes.
or because a resort not necessarily would be able to,
Yeah.
guide them through the
Yeah, so
entire.
we do it in like Panna, Bandhavgarh, Kanha, and all. We have,
Yeah.
because we have people
So
over there.
we
We do also the
correct.
resort over there in these areas. They also contribute because they bring their guests, so they know the activities. They contact us.
Okay,
तो
they
वो लोग
can
भी करते हैं.
contact
They're
them.
very helpful. Most of the resort people
Okay.
have also been involved in our activities. But
Okay.
directly हमको लिखा तो भी we can organize for you. Resort में बताया तो वो लोग भी हमको ही phone करेंगे. So we kind of
Acha.
arrange with the villager. Basically, we connect the villager,
Fine.
and
Fine.
directly the
Fine.
payment goes to the villager. That's it.
All right. Fine. Amazing. If someone here is interested, so I just asked you this question to be a part of the entire thing. I mean,
Sure.
how they can, and what kind of support do on-ground forest staff or local communities need from the outside world?
Lots.
So if you can,
So,
I can understand, but what do you think is the like a
yeah.
primary couple of them?
So I think very important component is one is respect,
Yeah.
resources, and recognition.
Right.
Okay. So if we can all create respect in our own eyes, saying that ये लोग अच्छा काम करते हैं, because I've heard many times people saying अरे ये लोग तो टूरिस्ट को ही डिस्टर्ब करने के लिए पेट्रोलिंग सुबह के हमारे सफारी के टाइम में ही पेट्रोलिंग करते हैं. दे जस्ट डोंट वांट टू चेंज देयर टाइमिंग जस्ट बिकॉज दे डोंट वांट टूरिस्ट टू सी अ टाइगर. They are
Yeah.
very against tigers. Okay, so understanding a little backstory of this, because nobody is against anybody really. They have to do their
Mm.
job and they have been assigned a particular time, because वो गाड़ी जाने के टायर के मार्क्स आने के पहले उनको पग मार्क्स ढूंढना है. तो
Ah.
उनका टाइमिंग जरूरी है. So
Mm.
understanding their role in the entire system, in conservation or in the entire system, is very important. So just creating that little respect about the job that they're doing, because they are far
Doing.
away from their families.
Mm.
उनको उनके पेरेंट्स गांव में रहते हैं. उनकी बीवी बच्चे क्लोजेस्ट टाउन में रहते हैं क्योंकि बच्चे को पढ़ाना है. फॉरेस्ट गार्ड्स की बात कर रही हूँ मैं. उनकी बीवी और
Yeah.
बच्चे क्लोजेस्ट टाउन में रहते हैं क्योंकि
Absolutely.
बच्चे को पढ़ाना है. स्कूल्स नहीं है. कोई रिमोट
Mm.
जंगल के कोर एरिया में स्कूल नहीं है. तो बीवी को और बच्चे को कहीं रखना पड़ता है. उनको कहीं चौकी पे रहना पड़ता है. एंड द पेरेंट्स मस्ट बी समवेयर. तो उनको 3-4 घर के चूल्हे जलाने पड़ते हैं, एज वी कॉल इट.
Correct.
और उनको
Correct.
खुद के राशन के लिए पैसा नहीं मिलता है, तो दे हैव टू ऑल्सो अरेंज फॉर देयर ओन राशन वेर एवर क्वार्टर्स में वो लोग रहते हैं. So this is a
Mm.
very difficult job that they do at the end of the day. And if we can
Correct.
just understand this, interact with a forest guard whenever possible. And it's quite
Mm.
possible when you go talk to us or talk to any of the forest department people, they're very willing to have you interact with one of the forest guards in every park. MP, I can
Right.
definitely vouch for it that they will be very happy to, if you inform them in advance कि हमको एक शाम 1 घंटा हमको कोई फॉरेस्ट गार्ड या कोई रेंजर के साथ इंटरेक्ट करवा दो. Just talking to them, understanding and respecting what they do is absolutely important.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes.
Second is recognizing the job that they do, because we also try to push their names into awards, because it's a thankless job again. इतने
Mm.
सालों से अंदर पेट्रोलिंग कर रहे हैं, फुट पेट्रोलिंग कर रहे हैं, all that is happening. उनको बस सरकारी जो मिलता है, that is all that they get. They don't get. And if there is any good work that happens in the paper, it's about the national park or the tiger reserve. That
Right.
it's not the
Right.
individual who's done a good job. So usually they all are craving for recognition in some way.
Right.
So even just stopping by, if your gypsy comes across a forest guard and say, "Are you doing a brilliant job? How do you manage to do this?" Just recognizing the effort or giving them a
They will
platform.
be.
If you guys can go and give an award or give a
Mm.
certificate.
Mm.
कुछ नहीं लगता, सर्टिफिकेट 10 रुपए का लगता है यार. Or just
Right.
give one little plaque which says appreciate your effort. It's a very
Correct.
very small thing but very important for them to do.
Yes.
तो ये भी अगर हम लोग कर सकते हैं तो बहुत ज़रूरी है उनके मोराल को बूस्ट करने के लिए। एंड थर्ड ऑफ कोर्स रिसोर्सेज बहुत लगता है उनको। जैसे अभी बांधवगढ़ में थ्रू वन ऑफ आर डोनर्स वी मैनेज टू गिव सम 800 गमबूट्स। बारिश में
Oh.
गमबूट्स की ज़रूरत पड़ती है, छाते की ज़रूरत पड़ती है, अगेन गर्मी में उनको वाटर बॉटल्स की ज़रूरत पड़ती है, वाटर फिल्टर्स की ज़रूरत पड़ती है। तो रिसोर्सेज हमेशा ज़रूरत पड़ती ही है ग्राउंड स्टाफ को।
Hmm.
एंड आर रिप्लेनिशेबल एवरी ईयर बिकॉज एक बार इट्स नॉट अ वन टाइम थिंग। एक
Yeah.
साल या 2 साल में खत्म, छाता भी उनका टूट जाएगा, गमबूट भी टूट जाएंगे।
Correct.
सो दीज आर एवरी ईयर लगता ही है। तो
Hmm.
मोर द मेरियर, मोर हैंड्स ऑन द डेक इज मेरियर ऑलवेज, because it's not like that is part of uniform most of the time, it's not. It
Right.
there is a torches देते हैं, anything and everything that you feel can be given. We can talk to the forest department based on the budget, based on the extent to which we can help them.
Right.
That will be a good thing to do. Um, the other thing is we also keep upgrading their skill sets, soft skills भी upgrade करते रहते हैं forest guards के लिए। Again,
Yes.
since we do technical skill training, we also
Yeah.
give them soft skill training so that they can have better interaction with the villagers, they can have more negotiation
Village.
skills with the people because they face the villagers. गांव वालों
Correct.
के लिए वही फॉरेस्ट डिपार्टमेंट है, ये वो फॉरेस्ट गार्ड जो गांव के पास में चौकी में
वही
बैठता
है।
है वही डिपार्टमेंट है उसके लिए। तो अगर वो बंदा अच्छे से बात करता है, अच्छे से बर्ताव करता है, देन द डिपार्टमेंट अच्छा है। नहीं है तो
हाँ।
इन द आईज ऑफ द विलेजर ये वन विभाग ऐसा है, सो इट्स अ होल विभाग
वन
फॉर हिम, दैट
विभाग।
वन पर्सन इज अ विभाग फॉर हिम।
Correct.
So that guy
Correct.
also needs a lot of skills in that sense, negotiation, talking, those kind of people skills. तो वो भी we give them. So if there are people who can give skills and trainings, so that also
Hmm.
can be offered in that sense, resource के हिसाब से बोल रही हूँ, that also can
Amazing.
be, yeah.
So I'm done with my questions. There are a couple of them in the chat box down.
Sure.
So one is, does the local government system understand their role in conservation? As for them, it is just a tenure or a posting. What is your
So I don't know local government, say what do we mean? We are talking local government system. Okay, so
system? Yeah.
so yeah, so they do understand conservation, but they do understand it from the forest department's perspective.
Hmm.
Okay, there are different narrations to conservation.
Yeah.
So the story that they hear is what the government system का एक हाथ दूसरे हाथ को बताता है. So that
हाँ.
is what they hear. But most of the times, we also know that if we give them like हम लोगों ने पुलिस को ट्रेनिंग देना पड़ा या एक प्रेजेंटेशन करना पड़ा कि
Yeah.
पारदीस कैसे चेंज हो रहे हैं. So
Right.
that
Right.
knowledge probably was not there, and that how that has resulted into conservation in Panna. That
Right.
knowledge was not there, right? But again, like the collector's office probably knows that there are pardis, but then making sure, pushing them to make sure that उनको अगर आधार कार्ड या आईडी कार्ड नहीं बनता, उनका जाति प्रमाण पत्र नहीं बनता है, तो दे वोंट गेट एडमिशन इन स्कूल्स। अगर वो स्कूल नहीं गए तो
Hmm.
फिर वो जंगल पहुंच जाएंगे।
Right.
Now that is
Right.
where the linkage to conservation happens. Now that story may or may not be narrated in many other systems. So that story from a community angle sometimes is lost or sometimes is not brought to, it's not highlighted. तो वो स्टोरीज कभी कभी हाईलाइट करना पड़ता है, कुछ ऑफिसेस में जाके बात करना पड़ता है उनके साथ।
अच्छा.
बट मोस्टली दे अंडरस्टैंड, इफ यू गिव देम दैट लिंकेज दे अंडरस्टैंड। सो वी हैव नॉट हैड
Okay.
इश्यूज व्हेन रेल से नहीं 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 करेंगे, कभी नहीं हुआ है। इट्स यूजुअली ऑलवेज दे कोऑपरेटिव इफ यू आर एबल टू एक्सप्लेन टू देम कि ये कनेक्शन होता है और इससे कंजर्वेशन में हेल्प होगा। अगर आपके ये
Yeah.
हेल्प, आपने अगर कैंप लगा के आधार कार्ड बना दिया या उनका
Hmm.
प्रमाण पत्र बना दिया, जाति प्रमाण पत्र वट एवर, देन दैट विल हेल्प इन कंजर्वेशन अ लॉन्ग वे, देन दे अंडरस्टैंड।
Right.
So it
Right.
works.
Right.
Sometimes it's slower than what you expect. We need to have
But
a lot
it,
of
yeah.
patience, but
Yeah.
it works.
Correct. Yeah. So next is how you zeroed down on Central India forest. Why not Western Ghats? Just curious. And why wildlife? As you are a city person, and there are enough civic issues also around. So as a city person, are there any civic issues there? And why did you choose more of Central India than other?
Okay, so two questions. So Central India is because I traveled to Central India. Okay, where, like I said, I had a stint where I was parallelly working in the
Yeah.
corporate world and I did a lot of trips. I traveled to Corbett से लेके South में everything. I had traveled a lot of places, not all, but many places. Central India was one of my favorites because I loved Bandhavgarh.
Yeah.
As a park, I used to love. So I have traveled most number of times to Bandhavgarh probably. That
Right.
was my first love and first tiger that I'd seen over there. So it probably still remains my first love. But having said that, when I joined this role in Last Wilderness Foundation, it was very coincidental that
Yeah.
Last Wilderness Foundation was established in 2009 and I joined in 2011. But since
Okay.
2009 and 10, the organization had just stepped one foot into Bandhavgarh. And
Okay.
that was the first thing that they said, oh, but you need to start working in Bandhavgarh. I was like, wow, that's the exact thing that I want to do. I
All
want.
right.
So
Okay.
Bandhavgarh was
Okay.
the only place where we had started working in 2011 on 9
Yeah.
onwards.
Yeah.
But subsequently, seeing the work, we started working with village kids and we started working with villagers here. And looking at our work, actually Panna had invited us, and Panna, the Kefir, Kanha had invited us. So I think it was just organically it grew in Central India. There was no aim that I want to work only in Central India, but Bandhavgarh was the first step that we took, and after that, organically it just grew into Central India or just in Madhya Pradesh mostly. We've done a little bit of work in Rajasthan and Maharashtra also, but
Okay.
having said that, coming to your next question, I've worked a lot with the Mumbaikars for SGNP project in Bombay.
Right.
That's the citizen science project that started in
Okay.
2010, I think, and that is still going on. It's a citizen science project where people in Mumbai are contributing in their own ways. It's a very
Hmm.
nice initiative with leopard human conflict management that is happening along with the forest
Wow.
department. So,
Yeah.
and even now, whenever needed, I kind of step in wherever required as a volunteer. I step in and work there. But the Central Indian forest is also because of my own selfishness that I wanted to travel to different parks and different national
Different
parks
part.
and tiger reserves. So
Yes.
that kind of drew me a lot more into the wilderness areas and not just do around the cities of
Cities
Bombay.
more.
Yeah. So I
Correct.
definitely wanted to travel to different parks and see more wildlife. That was my initial
Okay.
intention, like I said, but now I think that motivation has changed. My motivation is now more people than the forest.
Yes, so we have two more questions.
Yeah.
How the surge in tourism in India related to national parks, especially tiger reserves, is going to affect the conservation efforts in the long term. So, how it could affect the people of the forest is what Indira is asking.
Okay. So I think the surge in tourism, um, I think there needs to be a lot more regulation that needs to be brought in.
Hmm.
Um, Most parks, I mean, I know tourism can come in, wildlife tourism can come in many ways, not just safaris.
Right,
Safaris is still one of the organized sectors, I feel.
right.
The walking trails or places where we can just trample things as we walk through and not look
Yeah.
at what we are trampling.
Hmm.
Just tourism which is not wildlife tourism, but just the tourism overall as a whole
Hmm.
could also be quite devastating if we don't control it and if we don't put the responsible part truly into
Hmm.
it,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So that is where I see a challenge because safaris, I think, is still okay. There are limitations of number of vehicles. कितने भी crowd होंगे, तो the number of vehicles that go in is limited.
Right.
The number of resorts, the number of swimming pools in the resorts that are coming up
Yeah. Yeah.
because the smallest resort today during monsoon, if you see, they are building swimming pools.
Yeah.
क्यों? उनको पूछा 1000 बार दे, लाइक मैडम वो बुकिंग नहीं लेते हैं, अगर बच्चे आने वाले
Ah.
हैं तो बोलते स्विमिंग पूल के बगैर हम बुकिंग नहीं करेंगे. Now that is where we as city people have put in the demand and they are just catering to the demand that we've asked for.
Right.
They didn't
Right.
intend doing it, but eventually that is. So those are things that we need to regulate, saying near the parks can we limit or can we not have swimming because that is going to take away a lot of our resources.
Right.
So those kind of things, I feel regulation is required.
Hmm.
Tourism, actually, if we can manage it in a regulated way, India can really mint money out of it. Because I think we have not uh, put up many of the things that we can actually put up for tourism. Like we have so many monuments, we have so many things that today people don't even go and people don't even see. Like every village has something in a heritage. Like yahan Panna, maybe if I
Absolutely.
go, there are so many beautiful villages. There are temples, there are palaces. There are palaces which have gold on their ceiling, painted with gold. Even today, there are gold gada
Oh,
hua hai.
wow.
People don't
Wow.
know about it. So I think इंडिया में अनएक्सप्लोर्ड तो अभी बहुत है, मतलब टूरिज्म के लिए
Yeah.
scope बहुत है, and we can actually be one of the economies which can rely on tourism उतना कर सकते
Right,
हैं. We have a lot of scope, but controlled, regulated tourism is very important.
right.
That is I think the key. So volume is not the risk part. I think the
Yeah,
regulated part is what I'm concerned about, and think we are putting things in place slowly, but
right.
we need to be very quick with that because the numbers are increasing rapidly.
Yeah,
So we need to
that's
be
true.
very
That's true.
quick with the regulations that we come up with.
Correct, correct.
Yeah.
So I happened to go to Panna right now, a couple of
हाँ
months back, and
हाँ
I was the guide there itself was telling, मैडम कुछ ऐसा करो कि बाहर 5 मिनट वो टूरिस्ट के गाड़ियों को डीप ब्रीफिंग देना चाहिए, when you're inside the park. So
correct.
even these things also can matter because if the volumes go up,
Yeah.
the chaos also increases, right? I mean,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
cannot just handle everyone. So I
Absolutely. So
think
interpretation centers that were there
exactly,
are
yeah.
there.
So,
We have not mandated that for the tourist to visit the interpretation center before you go inside.
yeah, correct,
So
correct.
अंदर जाके interpretation center में एक guide या दो guides वहां पर रहेंगे who can actually, or interpreters will be there who can actually interpret
Right.
the forest to you before you go in. Mandate, whether you are a 10th time visitor or 100th time visitor or first time visitor, it doesn't matter. Taking that five
Correct.
minute out, I think all of us can. वैसे भी गेट के बाहर आधे घंटे खड़े रहते हैं हम लोग.
Yes.
It doesn't matter. So वेस्ट
Correct.
कोई टाइम नहीं होने वाला है. वहां पर खड़े खड़े गाड़ी में बैठे, जिप्सी में बैठे, उससे अच्छा अपन वहां जा सकते, शॉपिंग करने.
वहां जाके
हाँ वहां
करते हैं.
जाके
Correct.
5 मिनट सुन सकते. So I think it is possible. Some parks have done it actually. I don't
Okay.
remember. I think one of the parks I remember that I had gone to, and there was a mandate saying you have to. I don't know if it was Corbett, and this is way back I'm talking about. They
Yeah.
had made it mandated saying that you have to go through the interpretation center.
Oh,
So and then you go into the gypsy, you get the gypsy ticket counter आता
right.
है, उसके बाद you go. So those are things that we can actually have, navigation saying that अगर हम interpretation centers बना ले, then
Hmm.
in fact now Gandhi Sagar is doing a brilliant job. Gandhi Sagar में the territorial department, forest department, the territorial division has created one interpretation center as a pilot, and we created, now they've sanctioned 5 interpretation centers. And it's not the wildlife sanctuary, it is the territorial forest department because they want the locals to come and understand the forest which is there.
Right.
एंड
Right.
अलग अलग जगह पे चौकियों को कन्वर्ट करके वो लोग इंटरप्रिटेशन सेंटर्स बना रहे हैं, which I thought was a brilliant thing.
Wonderful.
We don't have to wait for somebody
Yeah.
to go into the forest, right?
Correct.
So
Correct.
interpretation centers can be in other places. That was also a good thing. Why do we have to wait कि कोई फॉरेस्ट जाके टिकट खरीदे, गेट के बाहर खड़े रहे, तब जाके इंटरप्रिटेशन हो?
Right.
इंटरप्रिटेशन हम कहीं जबलपुर में भी हो सकता है, आप एयरपोर्ट से
Right.
उतरोगे तो हो सकता है. And
Right.
or anywhere else. I'm just saying it could be
Anyway, yeah.
for,
Absolutely.
right? It could be multiple
Correct.
places. So those
Correct.
kind of things we need to think way ahead of time now.
Right. Right. Come to the last question. I think one of it you've answered already, part of it. What does true inclusion look like in conservation beyond participation? How do we make sure tribal communities have the power to shape the rules and lead future projects?
So there are multiple ways that can be done, and again there are ways to do this. So there are conservation reserves that are there, the community reserves that are there in India.
Hmm.
Community reserves are probably the true ways of talking about inclusive conservation, where the decision making is also there, where the community decides who does what, what do we extract, how do
Right.
we extract, how much do we extract, all of that.
Hmm.
Northeast में there are a lot of examples that are there, community reserves. Okay? Slowly, conservation reserves are also something that is coming up. In terms of within the vicinity that we are in, like for example, we're talking about tiger safaris in the larger context in Corbett hai, Tadoba hai, MP hai, all of these places. The inclusive conservation happens in the buffer areas also. So buffer के जो सफर होते हैं, buffer का जो सफारी होता है, that is also where the community decides, the money is going into the community kitty, and then the community decides कि वो पैसे का वो क्या करेंगे.
Hmm.
Of course they
Correct.
don't have the decision making saying वो rules regulations कैसे बनाएंगे उसके, because that
Hmm.
still lies with the forest department. और कहाँ रूट बनाएंगे वो भी forest department के पास अभी भी होगा.
Right.
But I think if the village sabha, gram sabha gives a prastav, gives a application saying we want tourism here, then that
Yeah.
tourism really happens. So we not just safari or tiger safari, but any other kind of tourism also happens in areas. Like अभी आज सुबह हम लोग जो गांव गए, they made a तालाब. अब तालाब के पास they want tourism. So जैसे हम फिशरीज भी करेंगे यहाँ पर, हम चाहते हैं कि टूरिस्ट भी आए यहाँ पर, चिड़िया देखने को आ जाए, तो हमको वो
Hmm.
शुरू करना है कि पर्यटक आने लगेंगे, हम खाना बना के खिलाएंगे उनको. So now they
Hmm.
want to start. So they are now going to have like their own panchayat will have a decision. They will give an application saying हमको इसको बनाना है. They will make some boards. They will invite people to come. So that can happen. So that kind of a thing is truly where participation is, decision making is also there. It's not just participatory, but it's also decision
Thanks.
making.
Yeah.
So that is, there.
Yeah.
So there are both instances that are available. Just that everything cannot be done everywhere.
Yeah.
So there are places where decision making is given, can be done by the community. There are places where decision making is not done by the community, but the participation is done by the community.
Right. Right. Yeah. Thank you. So I think we've done with the questions. I will. So we have. Jungle Bells has a backend support. It's primarily led by women, but we also have a backend support, of course, of Sanjay Deshpande. He's one of the he's based in Pune. He works with us, and so I'll ask him to give the vote of thanks. He's a part of the team, and I'm sure he will love to say a few words. Sanjay, are you there around?
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Hey, hi Vidya.
Hi,
It was
Sanjay.
wonderful. I think
Good to meet
I
you
yes, 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 and
again.
finally we connect again.
Yeah, yeah, I know.
And as you rightly said, I always think unless and until you love something, you won't care for it. Their answers, the Central Indian forest you chose for, because
For
I
me.
can imagine you love more Central Indian forest just like me also.
Yeah.
And one more aspect, I think the language is connecting is easier because entire Central India connects with Hindi comparatively. And recently, myself and Hemangi and our team had gone through that Nilgiri, the movie you must have heard about, and their language is a big problem. I had been to South Indian forest, and to connect with those people is really difficult for we
Yeah,
the
South Indian is difficult for me also.
yeah, yeah, I know that's right. But and I'm really thankful for you to coming on this platform, and I hope they declare Vidya and your team also as an endangered species now because
I hope we
that
are
is what
both. We shouldn't be endangered. We should be
that
more
is
of
what
it.
we need more and more, and more importantly, what an wonderful occasion! It's 15th of August, Independence Day, and really, I think we the city people now. I consider myself as a Punite, though I am from Nagpur proper. But as you rightly said, it's about the city people how we handle this issue of wildlife conservation. It will make the difference, and we will be definitely like to working together as Jungle Bell, as even me as a fraternity from business fraternity in cities, because see in business also there is why I'm taking an opportunity to discuss this thing. In business also, now there is a third generation of people, youngsters who is joining their family businesses, and they are aware about this wildlife aspect of it. Earlier, what has happened is, speaking about real estate industry, of which I am very much part of, which is considered as one of the biggest enemy of wildlife in a way, though it's not like that, but okay, that's different subject. What I was trying to put forward is, with people like you and Himangi, you should join hands for getting more money for conservation. I think that's the biggest weak link I think I saw or I observed in conservation, because uh, everywhere money is required, and unfortunately, wildlife is the last priority for city businesses. So we will be more than happy to, because at least that much support we can do. I think.
Definitely. And another thing I want to add to that, Sanjay, you said it really right, brilliantly. Saying one is definitely getting money, and we should get more money for this.
Yeah,
Second is people who want to give money want to also see numbers. So they
correct.
want to see
Correct.
कि इतने में हम कितना पेड़ लगाएंगे.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So it
Yeah.
is not about the numbers. If we
Yeah.
can see
True.
that it is
True.
about behavior change, then they're like,
True.
अच्छा फिर हमको नंबर में कितना दिखाएंगे, एनुअल रिपोर्ट में हम
True.
क्या
True.
डालेंगे.
True.
So
I
those
agree.
are
I
things that
agree.
we need to change the mindset. Saying अगर पैसा आता भी है तो it's not
Yeah.
about नंबर के पेड़ कितने लगा दिए.
Yeah,
That is the point.
I took that point, and I have noted it that even one Baiga boy or one Gond boy becomes 12th pass. It is a big number, like equivalent to 100 trees and like that something.
Absolutely, absolutely, totally.
So I take an opportunity to thank you as well as Hemangi, and I wish ki women like you should form a different platform, and to pull more outsiders in this kind of thing, where your activities will be supported well on financial level also. So my all wishes. Thanks a lot very much to you and
Thank you
Hemant.
so much. Thank you.
Yeah,
We need your
yeah,
wishes, all your
yeah,
wishes.
yeah.
And thank you,
Thank you,
Himanshi. Thank you so
Vidya.
much.
Yeah, and in spite of
Wonderful.
15th August Chutti, I want to tell everyone that she's working. She's right now on the field. We
Yeah,
have a
that's
long
what I
weekend,
said.
but she's on field right now. In the morning, she told me I'm in Panna. I was like, oh, it's holiday. So it's
She
like a
has
this thing,
really
but that is
understood the meaning of freedom. I think.
yeah.
Yeah. So today, in fact, we did some tree plantation in one of the villages, and villagers wanted to do it. So flag
Yeah.
hoisting was kiya, but it was
Amazing.
wonderful.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Kudos to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I
Thank
wish,
you, all of you.
we will spread this word and maybe, people. So I just want to ask you, where can they reach to you? The website,
Website
lastwilderness.com or something?
or just conservation at the last wilderness. But I
Okay.
mean, you can share the website if you want. I can,
Yeah, I will
you
put
want me
it
to
with
put
the
it over the
YouTube when we upload it,
chat?
right? So I
Yeah,
will
yeah. You
put
can
in the
put it in the comment.
description where they can get in touch with you,
Sure, sure.
basically. All
No.
right? Yes.
All right.
Thank you
Thank you
so much,
so much.
Vidya.
Thank you. Thanks, Emani.
A
Thanks,
pleasure.
Venkatesh.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah.
everybody.
Bye
Bye.
bye.